meeting someone who I really liked and respected, and also was just like, oh, but you also seem very fun.
Hmm.
And I called my dad about halfway through my time in Ecuador, and I said, Dad, like, do you think I could be a dentist? And he was like, honey, I think you could do whatever you want to do.
Welcome to the Wealthy by Design show. I'm Jane Somerset, your host. In the show, we'll explore what it really means to build wealth intentionally, not just in your bank account, but in your health, your time, and your sense of purpose. Each week, you'll hear stories from people who are passionate about creating a life that balances finances, health, and meaning, because a truly wealthy life looks different for everyone. We'll dig into their personal journeys in building businesses, what worked, what didn't, and what they'd wished they'd known sooner, so you can streamline your own path to success. We'll also explore different approaches to money and how people think about financial stability, goal setting, and the mindsets that support long-term freedom. Together, we'll break things down into simple, actionable steps you can start using right away to design your own version of a wealthy lifestyle. And if I wander into a topic that wasn't on the original list, it's probably because my curious little heart just had to know more. So follow along, be kind, and enjoy the show. Today we have Dr. Tesha Waggoner on, pediatric dentist from Portland, Oregon. So are you originally from Portland, Oregon?
No, I'm kind of from all over. I grew up my high school years in Las Vegas. I went to college in Southern California, and then I came up to Oregon for dental school. And the Pacific Northwest is just really like my speed, my vibe. And my husband's from here, and this is where we decided to stay.
Did you meet your husband in dental school then, or?
I met him in my pediatric residency right at the end of it.
Okay, very nice. Because so you went to dental school in Oregon,
Hmm.
and then I know you did a bunch of different traveling, different places. So you did your dental school in Oregon, and then you came back and did your pediatric residency in Oregon as well. But then
Yes.
you also did a GPR in Hawaii. Is that correct?
Yes, and that residency was really difficult because they don't have any oral surgery residencies in Hawaii, and I worked at the only level one trauma center in Hawaii, and so just I assisted like all the actual oral surgeons with like broken jaws and getting all of your teeth knocked out and just kind of like crazy things. So it was a really cool experience. But what I learned from that was I became really good friends with all of the pediatric dental residents, including the program director. And I also just realized through like being on trauma call that my favorite patients were the kids. And at one point, the program director in Hawaii was like, well, why aren't you a pediatric dentist? And I was like, I don't know. So I mean, if I wouldn't have gone to Hawaii, I would have never become a pediatric dentist.
Wow, that is crazy. You went from doing oral surgery, broken jaws to pediatric. What island were you on then?
I was on Oahu in Honolulu,
Okay.
and it was really fun. My interview was over Zoom, and so the first time I had ever been to Oahu was when I moved there. And I remember like stepping off the plane in Honolulu and just saying like, okay, I moved here. I have all my stuff and I guess I'll go see my apartment. But you know what? Like I said, it was the best year of my life. I'm actually getting ready. We'll leave on Saturday actually to go to Hawaii where two of the other dental residents that were there at the same time I was, which now is 10 years ago, 11 years ago. But we're all getting together. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's just a great it was one of those things where I only had two other residents in my residency program, and they were both boys, and they were both local boys from Hawaii. And so like they weren't like super interested in like being my friend. They both lived at home with their families. I mean, we were all friendly, but that just like they already had their lives, and so I really had to branch out to like I was like, this is gonna be really lonely, or I just gotta like put myself out there and make friends.
So you didn't know anyone in Hawaii. And you were the only one that, were you married at that time?
Nope, I was not married. Yeah, I moved there all by myself. I knew one person, and it was a pediatric dental resident that I had gone to dental school with. And so that was how I met a lot of the other pediatric dental residents, was through him.
Wow, that is very cool. I've never been there before.
I
There's a
highly recommend it.
You do? There's a dental conference on Maui and Kauai every year in like
Yep,
January, February. So that is always it's good to be a dentist so you can go to the CE.
absolutely. I should go. My one of my best friends lives on Maui now, so we there's always good excuses, and if we can write it off, that's even better.
So before going to Hawaii and before dental school and growing up just through like middle school, high school, before college, did you know you wanted to be a dentist?
No, not at all. And the reason why, my dad is a pediatric dentist.
Oh my
He's
gosh. Okay.
he's actually very well known in the pediatric dental world, which is really small, but he taught at Ohio State for many, many years and then went into private practice. But he has written, like, he's an author in like every single pediatric textbook. He has pioneered a lot of research in like all zirconia crowns for pediatric, for primary teeth. And so he is like, so that is also one of the reasons why I didn't want to become a pediatric dentist.
Okay.
And I didn't know how well known he was until I got into dental school and people started saying like I read your dad's paper on like the aesthetics of zirconia versus composite crowns. And I was like, "Oh, wow." And I remember calling him halfway through and saying like, "Dad, like you're kind of a big deal." And he's very modest, and he was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." But so anyway, so I grew up with that. I had no desire to be in dentistry at all. And then I actually took the LSATs and was ready to go to law school. I went to a really small college called Pepperdine University for undergrad, and I had taken the LSATs, and I just wanted a year off in between law school. And I had met this family that started an orphanage in Ecuador. And I just thought, well, that sounds cool. Maybe I should go volunteer there for a year. And I was able to raise funds to do so. And I went and I did it. And again, it was like, didn't know anyone there, just thought it sounded really fun. And it was very life changing because I learned so much, number one, about children, specifically like special needs children, because a lot of the children in Ecuador who are abandoned have like very severe special needs. Vaccination rates are also not as good there. So, I actually got to see kids, what it looks like when, your mom contracts like rubella in utero and like the effects of that. So it was really great for me to learn how to work with special needs kids, great just to learn how to take care of kids in general. And at the same time, I didn't know anyone except for the orphanage directors. And so I joined a gym which had an Ecuadorian running group. And again, I just kind of thought, well, that sounds like something I could do. And so I started meeting up with them to run, and I ended up becoming really great friends with this Ecuadorian orthodontist. And we like ran at the same pace, so we were always talking, and she was like, "You should come see my practice." And I said, "I'd love to." And it was the first time that it had really occurred to me that you could be honestly like an attractive female and also be a dentist, because I just grew up with my dad and all of his like old guy friends. And so that was just the world I knew. And so, yeah, meeting someone who I really liked and respected, and also was just like, "Oh, but you also seem very fun." And I called my dad about halfway through my time in Ecuador, and I said, "Dad, like, do you think I could be a dentist?" And he was like, "Honey, I think you could do whatever you want to do." And I was like, "Okay."
What a good dad, not being like, yes, you should become a
Yeah, I think if you ask him, initially, I was probably the person he thought would be least likely to be a dentist. I have three younger brothers. One brother is an ER doctor. One is a psychologist, and the other one is in like, I don't actually know what he does. He's in some sort of HR. But I was not the person that you would have thought would be a dentist, but
Comes full circle.
comes full circle. And so when I got back from Ecuador, I signed up for classes at my local college at Cal State Northridge, and I got my post-bac in biology and then applied to dental school, and the rest is history.
That's so cool. And it's like, yeah, you went to Ecuador, you're like, okay, I want to be a dentist. Then you went to Hawaii and you're like, yes, okay, I want to be a pediatric dentist. That's cool. So you didn't think when you were in dental school, had you thought about any other specialties at that time? Or you were like, general dentistry, that is the way.
Yeah, I thought about oral surgery. I really liked oral surgery. I did a lot of like extracurricular. There was like some, I don't know, oral surgery group that I joined. So I thought that my GPR would be, is like, it's a really great program if you think you might want to go into oral surgery. And I was like, do you not want to do this?
Yeah, there really aren't a lot of females in oral surgery, I feel like, but
No,
I have a good
I
friend.
just met one. There was like one that just came, and of course, like I totally did the thing where I met her. We were at like they were having like a grand opening of their practice, and they had listed on their website that they hired a new oral surgeon and a new prosthodontist. And of course, I was like, "Are you the new prosthodontist?" And she's like, "I'm the oral surgeon." And I'm like, "Of course you are. I'm so sorry."
It is just yeah. I would have probably done the same thing.
She was very gracious. She was very, very gracious to me.
She has to probably have thick skin, so
I would never want to break into that. And yeah, I mean, like she's also blonde like us and young and like very like just you're like, oh wow, okay. Breaking stereotypes. I like it. Yeah.
so did you know you wanted to go to the pediatric residency back in Portland, or were you thinking maybe somewhere else, or you're like West Coast?
That's a great question. I applied to and interviewed at a couple, some in Texas, Hawaii, and I can't remember all the places I interviewed, but I was dead set on going to Hawaii because at the time I had like had a Hawaiian boyfriend, I'd like met a guy at the very end of my residency who was from Hawaii, and I was like, I wanted to be back. Plus, all of my friends were there. I knew the program director. I thought I was a shoo-in. Residency, as you know, is like a match system where like you rank your top choice, they rank their top choices, and then through some algorithm, it like places people. So the year that I applied to the Hawaii residency was the first year that it got switched over to it's the NYU program, like it got bought out. It's like the Lutheran pediatric residencies got bought out by NYU. Like the way that all this is what was told to me. The way that all the applicants were ranked was totally different and did not have as much weight with the actual program directors, but with like NYU. And so I did not match there. And I was like, how did I not match here? And then even the program director was like, I don't know how you didn't match here. But I was like, okay. And so, I mean, I was happy to be back in Oregon because I had a lot of
Hmm.
friends. I obviously know things, but it was a surprise.
It was meant to be. That's what I, yeah.
Yes,
Because then after your, so how long is residency, pediatric residency? Is that 3 years?
it's 2 years,
2 years. Okay, I couldn't remember. Yeah, I did not apply for I went straight into general dentistry.
which
So,
hats off to you. I cannot imagine going straight into like treating just everyday people.
and that's so my dad's a dentist as well, and
Okay.
he did GPR back in the day out on the East Coast. And I thought, well, maybe, but then I had him as a
Yeah.
mentor, and then his friend who I bought the practice as a mentor. So that's a very big. It's always
That's like
nice.
your own GPR.
Yes, it was. But so when you were in your GPR, did you know you wanted to stay in Oregon after that? Or were you thinking, maybe I would go back to Las Vegas?
You know, so I did in between finishing my Hawaii residency and then getting into pediatric residency. I worked for a year in Las Vegas with my dad,
Oh, you did.
and
Cool. Yeah.
he's the best boss I've ever had, period. He's amazing. He's such a wealth of knowledge. He's not like a typical pediatric dentist. Like pediatric dentists, like there's definitely a personality type and they're very like la 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 la. Like we're very song and dance, we're really exuberant. My dad is not. He is cool as a cucumber, completely unflappable, but like he's never really happy, he's never really sad. He's just very medium all the time. So, but I learned so much from him the year that I worked with him. And I think if I liked the city of Las Vegas, it would have been a no-brainer to stay there forever, take over the family business. Like it would have been a no-brainer, but Las Vegas is just, it's not my vibe.
It's different, definitely. I've only been there a couple times, but is his practice like really close to downtown or is it no? Okay.
No, it's off the strip. Which is a lot more like Phoenix. If you've ever been, it's like very suburban, but it's just the desert is hard. The heat is hard for me. So it's just I really wish that I liked it because I love my parents and I love my family, but I was like I cannot see living here long term.
And so you found yourself in Portland, Oregon, with a lot of nature, right? Or at least a lot of places to go. You're pretty outdoorsy. I know do you like hiking a lot? But
I
I have to ask,
do.
is it Trailblazers? Is that a sports team or is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So the Portland Trail is basketball. My husband is a diehard basketball fan, so I have to know something about it. But
That's like me being close to Green Bay, even though I live in Michigan. I need to know a little bit about the Packers, but
yes,
now you said I can't remember. You said is your husband from Oregon?
he's from Vancouver, Washington, which is just kind of right over the bridge from Portland. But he works at Nike. He's a shoe designer. Which is I mean, you could interview him too. Like he does a lot. I think what he does is way cooler than what I do.
I'm curious to see what does he design at Nike?
Yeah. Yep. He
Cool.
designed like shoes for LeBron James for the Met Gala this year, which LeBron James did not go to the Met Gala, so he didn't end up wearing them, but they are really cool.
Okay, yes, you do have to know a little bit about basketball then.
Yes. Yes,
So, do you own your practice? Do you
I
own your
do.
practice? Okay. Yeah, I was wondering, so how common is it for a pediatric dentist to actually own their own practice? Because I know there are a lot of different pathways. A lot of pediatric dentists that I know go into practice like a general practice and they are the specialists there.
Mm.
How did you choose between the different pathways?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started out in corporate dentistry. I worked for a big corporate operation and I loved it. It was great. It was a great experience. I know that's not everybody's experience, but for me, I felt like as a specialist, they kind of let me treatment plan things the way I wanted to. And it was great because I really got my speed up. I really got to just learn all of the tricks of the pediatric trade, got really fast, and just got a lot of experience. But after I had my first son and I was on maternity leave, I just could not bear the thought of going back to work full time. I had been working 5 days a week, and I was like, I know,
That's a lot. I mean,
I know.
for non-dentists who are listening, but I mean, it's a lot. Usually 4 days is like the max.
Yeah, and now I would say like, 4 days is a lot.
Hmm.
But I just said I got to do something different. I have to do something where I can have more flexibility and where, me doing dentistry is not the way that we make all of our money. And I mean, my husband makes money too, but is like we either have to like really do a major change on our lifestyle so I can work less, or we can look into buying something and eventually I'll work less.
Did you find that? So how many years were you in corporate then?
I was in corporate for 4 years and this practice came up when I was on maternity leave, and I looked it up and I had never heard of it before, but it was 8 minutes away from my house.
Wow, that's very nice.
I know. And so, I didn't know anything. I was very afraid. Like, I remember my husband being like, just email them and tell them you're interested. And I'm like, what if they know that I've never bought a practice before? And he was like, but anyway, I didn't know anything about how buying a practice works, especially, and I didn't know the owner at all. But I think the things that ultimately made us stand out is he had just run like a tiny, cute little boutique pediatric dental office for 20 years. He really wasn't interested in high production, or like he just really wanted to do things at his own speed and his own time. And the other thing that was really important to him was he had a daughter with Down syndrome, and he really wanted the practice to go to someone who would continue to care for his special needs patients population. And, I think I was able to talk to him about my experience in Ecuador, and we have an uncle with cerebral palsy that I grew up with, and there's just a lot of things that have really given me a heart for that patient population as well. And so, yeah, we were really excited when he decided to choose us because from what I understand, and you can, if you know more about this, please correct me, but from what I understand is basically they just set the price that the office is. It's like, this is what the price is. And then, if you're not selling to like a DSO, for example, it's just like you just get the approved funding from the bank and you're like, yes, we can pay it. And then they just choose who they want out of whoever puts bids in.
I feel like it really depends on what area you're in as well, but like a
Hmm.
busier area for sure. There are some areas which I know of that are pretty rural and we have a hard time getting dentists even to come to the area.
Yeah.
Some I don't know about specialist offices though, but like general practices, some dentists just close their office.
Okay.
In our area, we've had a couple dentists who have just closed their doors. Yeah. Um, but that's more in recent years. I feel like maybe like 10 years ago, that was a different thing. So you'd have a couple different people competing.
Hmm.
So it all depends on, yeah, like right now versus, yeah, and what area. But I think that's pretty common. And then also funding is very different as well. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
it is. We are in the process of potentially doing a satellite practice, and yes, it is a different ball game than it even was 4 years ago.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very exciting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is exciting. We'll
It's
we'll see that
exciting.
we've got many steps to go through.
Yeah, it's exciting, but you're opening another practice and you said you want to cut down on that. That seems like a lot of extra. But well, I'll ask you a couple questions about that in a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think banks are a little bit more eager to lend to dentists, I think, just because we're more of a sure bet. But dental school and then residency and then pediatric residency and then a practice, that's a lot of debt.
Yes.
Probably were a little bit nervous about that.
Yes.
How did you approach it with, I guess, how did you approach it with, did you make a plan of how long to pay it off, that type of thing? Did you guys talk about cutting back or adjusting your lifestyle? You had mentioned a little bit.
Yes. So the first year I bought the practice, we really cut back pretty drastically because in order for me to do it, I had to take a very substantial pay cut. In corporate, I made very good money and it was really easy. And then owning your own practice, as I'm sure you know, is like just a whole different ball game, and the dentistry is the easy part.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah, we scaled back quite a bit our first year. We just made sure that we could pay like anything we could pay off, we did. And then and I would say we're in the point where the practice is doing really well. Last year I had another baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I still feel like whenever you have to take maternity leave and stuff, you then have to kind of rebuild after that. And so I still feel like a year later, we're still a little bit in that rebuilding phase. Um, but yes, I think to me, like the practice loan debt is way less scary than student debt.
I could agree. Do you buy the building as well? Did you buy the building, or
I
is that
wish, no, but that
is
is
that?
in my long-term plans.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Not
if that
our
was
building, but a building.
a building. Okay, I didn't know if that was a common thing out in your area as well, or if because it's kind of split 50-50. I feel like here, maybe a little bit more where people
Yeah.
buy the building, but the real estate here is probably a lot less expensive than where you are.
Yes. Everything is, I think, well, I don't know if we're quite as expensive as like San Francisco, for example, but I mean, it's pretty expensive here for everything.
And I see, so you have an associate as well. Is that right? Okay.
I do. I brought her on about 6 months before I went on maternity leave, and then she took over full time when I was on maternity leave.
Mhm.
And then just the greatest blessing when I came back from maternity leave, I came back 2 days a week. And so I do take like one day as an admin day, and then I would do clinical dentistry 2 days a week, sometimes three. But like that balance has been so wonderful.
Were you, when you came back, so you had a new baby, and then how old was your other child?
My other child was 2.
Were you able to bring them to the practice at all? Or did
Yes.
you were okay.
And actually, so we have an amazing nanny who is actually my husband's cousin who has been with us for 2+ years now. She was with me for the whole pregnancy of my second, and they are very attached. It's really cute. But they come in every Wednesday because my older one goes to preschool, and so they come in every Wednesday to visit me. Um, and it's just great. I love being able, and I usually go home for lunch every single day so I can see my boys, or I'll pick up my son from preschool during my lunch break.
That is so nice. And the perks of being 8 minutes away, right?
Yes.
That
Yes,
is
it
so nice.
makes it possible to do things like that, and I feel so grateful for that because ultimately I love being a pediatric dentist and I also really love being a mom and I love the balance that I have of the two right now.
Do you think if you still worked in corporate, you would be able to have the flexibility that you have right now being a practice owner?
No,
No, that's
no.
what that was probably the main. So they don't in corporate, do they not allow you to work like part time?
They would have, but I mean, the pay cut that I would have had to take, it was like, again, we would have had to. I basically took that pay cut anyways, my first year of owning. And then, as we're trying to figure out the balance of having an associate on board, I'm just glad I never got used to making true owner dentist money before like we had already adjusted our lifestyle before we brought her on, and then we've just kind of continued that, and bringing her on just kind of again, I just never got used to making that kind of money again. And so, but I feel like where I have gained is just like the time with my children
Mm-hmm.
and
I
the
do.
work-life balance.
Yes, yeah, very much so. I feel like once you adjust the lifestyle, like we had to do that quite a bit as well when buying a practice and taking on that debt. And then once you grow the practice and you keep your lifestyle the same, living like a resident, I think that's what White Coat Investor says, but
Yeah, that's what they say.
then you're just able to pay down that debt so much quicker. But the flexibility and the time at home, that is very big. That's just that. I feel like the flexibility is invaluable, and having that while owning a practice, that's just, yeah. I had a baby last year, by the way.
Hey,
Well, that was my
congratulations.
first baby. Thank you.
Wow.
So I just went through the maternity leave as well, and then coming back and rebuilding. It's very interesting. So with opening a second office, is that going to be, how far away from the first office is that going to be, do you think?
So It's a really interesting opportunity that came up. In where I live, there aren't very many dentists that retire and close their doors. That's just not a thing. Oh, a lot of banks don't even like to fund startups here because, yeah, it's like not a thing because there's so many dentists and so many pediatric dentists and just in general, it's really difficult. So, but I had a friend who bought a commercial building that had an empty dental practice in it.
Wow.
And
That's
she was like, and it's in a part of town that only has one pediatric dentist. And she said, I mean, it was just like, she was like, I thought of you. I think you would be great. Are you interested at all? And I'm like, I'm interested. So it's like, it is one of those things where we're kind of in the process of doing all the pros and cons of it. And definite con is that I would have to start working more days. But again, I'm really grateful that I got a year to have this amazing schedule with my boys. And I also know that I can get back there again. And one of my goals has been I have a couple of goals as a owner. One has been to own more than one practice because there are just so many additional tax benefits when you own more than one practice. The other thing is to obviously own my own building because again, once you own commercial real estate, there's also like a lot of tax benefits for that. So that is somewhere in my, I would say, 5 to 10 year plan.
that's right.
So is the timing ideal? No, it is not.
Is it
But if
ideal? No.
no, that's the other thing. It's not. And if we don't do it, someone else definitely will.
Mm-hmm. And you're on a roll, I feel like.
Thank you.
Do you think if the opportunity presented itself, would you maybe go to a third practice as well? Say if you found an associate to help you with the second practice?
Potentially, I don't think I would ever want to own more than three. I think once you start owning more than two or three, it's just really hard. I feel like quality control becomes very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Because would you see yourself physically going to each practice each week, at least to practice a little bit? Yeah.
Yes,
And then
I
at
think
least,
that's really, yeah, I'm kind of too much of a hands-on person to just let caution go to the wind and hope people are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
did your dad own multiple dental practices or did he own one?
Yeah, he owned four.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So it's like I could have just, moved to Vegas and made my life much, much easier. But I've never done things the easy way.
It's also exciting to scale, you know. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
very impressive what you're doing. So
Thank you.
I mean, it's a big decision to scale like that because once you are comfortable in a position, I mean, you could just stay in that comfortable position forever and be very happy. But you want to scale and share and give care to more people. And once you've, created something that works so well, why not expand? But yeah, different challenges.
Yes, and I mean, I think anyone that knows me well would tell you I've never been good at staying comfortable. I've always been like, okay, what are we doing next? When am I getting uncomfortable again and trying something that's scary? And that is just how I've always been. When I worked in corporate dentistry, that was the longest amount of time that I've ever just been chill, stable, not, I knew what was happening every single day and that was a very nice, calm time of my life. And but the thing I love so much about ownership is the ability to make decisions just like that. Like, okay, this isn't working, let's change it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I have an amazing staff. When I first took over, there was a lot of turnover and tumultuousness, but we've had our same staff now for about a year and a half, and I've owned the practice for 3 years. And so we're finally in a place where things feel really stable. I really love the team that we've put together and the ability to give people a good place to come to work is a
Mm-hmm.
really satisfying feeling.
I would have to agree. And I do agree, when taking over a practice, that transition period can definitely be challenging. But once you do find the good team that meshes well, which it's very hard sometimes to find, the perfect balance, but it's so important. And for you to be able to go into work without any stress, that is such a big thing too. And you don't realize how stressful it can be if there's even just a little bit of tension in the office. And once that's gone, there's no going back.
That's absolutely true. I remember it was like March, and this last March, and I was sitting, talking with my office manager, and I was like, wow, like we haven't had any drama in like a couple months. And she was like, don't say that. Like, don't like, like, we don't want to jinx it. But now, I mean, now we're in November, and it's like, I don't know. We finally found people that don't want to stir the pot, is what we say. We just want to
Yes.
like work and have fun, and that's great.
Yeah. And then it makes everything productive. And
Yes.
everyone's happy.
Yes.
Well, if you had a magic wand to help overcome one thing with your business, what would it be for a challenge?
I think what we are going through right now is I do accept a percentage of Medicaid patients, of state insurance patients, and Oregon Health Authority just changed those reimbursement rates.
Okay.
Yeah, they like cut them very,
They cut.
very significantly.
I was hoping you were gonna say, and they increased them miraculously. No,
That would be
that
amazing. So I
that'd
think that's something that I would just want to change, when you are in a very pediatric dentist heavy area, like there are a pediatric dentist basically on every block. Yeah, there's a lot in Portland. It is challenging to build up your private pay patient base or cash patients. And so that just takes longer. So if I could have like a magic wand and either have my old Medicaid rates back, or just have a bigger private pay patient population flow, that would be, that's what I would want.
great. Man, yes, reimbursement. That is a big thing. So I just went fee for service a couple
Mm.
years ago, and then so did another dental practice in our area. It's becoming a big, yeah, kind of trend in our area that I hope. I know.
Yeah, we're fee for service as well. We're only in network with Delta Dental Premier, which their reimbursement rates are really good. But I guess I would love to ask you, like, because I am in this time period where I'm like, should we become in network with like one or two more PPOs? I'm kind of like weighing those options to try to get, again, like we are having like a steady flow of new patients, but just not at the level that I would like.
Yeah, and that's tough. I feel like the reimbursement rates are different for every state as well, because
Hmm.
we're so close to Wisconsin. And when I graduated and started, the dentist who owned the practice that I bought, he was a Delta Dental Premier. And then I wanted to become a Delta Dental Premier, but because I graduated 1 year after a certain date, they kind of lumped everyone into the PPO. So there was no more Premier reimbursement. So the adjustment rate just went skyrocket compared to what he had. And you even try, and in Wisconsin, which is just like a couple hours south, their reimbursement rate was quite a bit better than ours.
That is so frustrating. I know that's a really big problem in California as well,
Mm,
specifically with Delta Dental Premier. I have
okay.
no idea how I got it, but it must not be a big thing here.
Well, good.
I'm keeping it.
Yeah, I can't give you any advice on that.
How have you found it though, switching to just a fee for service?
I think the need up here was so great. We're just short dentists up here. And I think this is what my patient base realizes, and I've tried to explain. We tried to explain to everyone before we did it as well. Because I'm fee for service and not participating, I can be a little bit more lenient with my pricing, and I can, for the patients who have been with me for a long time, I can give them discounts and feel good about it, and it actually benefits them, So
Hmm.
I have a lot more it gives me a lot more flexibility with my practice.
Okay.
I'm very
That's good to know.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know about organ and specialties. That's it. So, uh, well, I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Try not to take up too much of your time, but and
Sorry.
who's next?
Lay down. It's my Labradoodle, my trusty Labradoodle doggy.
What does wealthy by design mean for you?
Yes. I think, for me, I decided that wealthy by design did not mean maybe extra wealth, but the wealth of time. And for me, that is where I feel really blessed and really wealthy in this time that I have right now, which is I have time to really focus on the business aspects. I really have time to be a great pediatric dentist for 2 to 3 days a week, which honestly I think should be most people's max. I can do it better, but you just feel like by that like fifth day in the afternoon, your patience is just kind of a lot lower. So and I also have like time for myself, which honestly is not something that I feel like a lot of moms these days have. I think there's enormous societal pressure on us as moms to be with our kids all the time and to do things with our kids all the time and all of our free time. And then if we're not doing that, then we definitely should be working and we shouldn't be doing things that are just for us. So I think wealthy by design for me is more about time than actual money in the bank. I mean, we want to prioritize money in the bank, but it's like I could have probably a lot more. But I've decided to prioritize my mental health in this period, being the best mom that I can, and being a really good provider.
So well said. Such great insights. So,
Oh,
and
thanks.
what a journey to into dentistry. Well, I have to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yes.
Very exciting to get to hear about you and learn about what you're doing. Maybe we'll have to have you on again
Thank
after
you.
another couple of years and then, or maybe even a year, maybe just a year.
Yeah,
See what you've done.
I'm sure it will be something else.
And maybe your husband on too.
Yeah, if you ever want to hear about how to design a sneaker from start to finish, he's done many, many famous ones, which I don't know anything about sneakers, so this doesn't mean anything to me, but
That is very interesting and
yeah.
very out of my realm too. So,
Yes.
you.
Great. I mean they can find me on our office website, which is pinetreepediatricdentistry.com. If you want to learn more about just me and maybe where I was at in like 2019, 2020, I have a blog that is called I did a blog for a few years and I still pay to have it up, although I haven't updated it in many years, but it was called Season of Becoming and it talks a lot about my journey with love, with fitness, with dentistry. And it was a really fun project that I did for a couple of years. And so you can find me there. I don't ever check social media, so you could probably find me there, but I won't see anything.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming
Thank
on.
you. I really love talking to you, Jane. Thanks so much.
Here are a couple of key takeaways from our conversation with Dr. Waggoner. Number one, success isn't a straight line. It's about finding your passion. Tesha's journey from considering law school to becoming a pediatric dentist, sparked by her transformative experience volunteering in Ecuador, shows that exploring different paths can lead to a fulfilling career. You never know who you will meet or who will inspire you to pursue something great. Number two, scaling a business requires vision and adaptability. Tesha's journey from corporate dentistry to owning multiple practices demonstrates that growth comes from strategic decisions and embracing opportunities, even when they require stepping out of comfort zones. Number three, wealth isn't just financial, it's about time and balance. Tesha emphasizes the importance of designing a life that prioritizes time with family and personal well-being over traditional financial metrics. I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you have any questions or suggestions or would like to be on the show, go ahead and send an email to thewealthybydesignshow@gmail.com. We'll see you at the next show. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy by Design show. Just a quick note, the thoughts and opinions you have heard today are for educational and informational purposes only and are strictly our own. Nothing discussed in the show constitutes professional, financial, investment, legal, or tax advice, nor should it be taken as a recommendation to buy or sell specific products or strategies. Always consult a qualified financial professional before making decisions that could impact your financial future. Thank you.